Hello and welcome back to the channel. So this week's video is part of the knife throwing for dummies series, and it is about what do you need to start knife throwing as a hobby, as a sport. Okay, now before I do this video, I have to kind of acknowledge or say that those of you who have been following the channel have already seen these topics or items in a very detailed video. So there's plenty of videos and a very detailed description, pros and cons explained. Okay, those of you who are new to the channel will or may find this video as a kind of checklist or overview or table of contents of which videos you should be searching up within this channel. Now, again, some people will say everything what you just said is common sense. Yes, it is. On the other hand, for some people like myself, this would be one of these videos would be a very handy kind of, yes, kind of a checklist to see what else I need to get instead of figuring it out for myself. None of them is wrong or right, we're just different people, that's all. Okay, so with that said and done, as always, take as little or as much out of this video as you think it's applicable for you. Okay, so first thing first, you need a target, something to throw at. Now, get yourself a reasonable softwood low ground or an end grain, a man-made low ground, one or the other. That's it. Okay, should you paint the target face? Yes and no. Look it up. There's a plenty of videos on my channel about target and target maintenance and all that. Okay, now with the target, you want to get yourself something to moisturize the target, and by moisturizing I mean wet it, put water on it. Okay, so if you have an indoor target, one of these spray bottles, I think that's a 5 liter, no, it's a 2 liter one, but you can get a 5 liter one, the bigger ones with the flexi hose, whatever. Okay, if you have an outdoor target, garden hose. It's no high tech, nothing high tech. Now I have to mention here, the very first one of these I got, that was the cheapest unit I could buy, because I thought, well, again, no high tech, right? Less than a year, the pump mechanism died in it. So then I bought the most expensive one I could find, because I wanted to last for a long time. But me being me, I left it in the bounce back zone. Needless to say, it did not last long. Okay, so now I'm going with a mid-range, mid-price ranged one, mid-quality range, mid-range quality, and I always hide it away from the bounce back zone. Okay, so just to save it from implements. Now, as I said, if you're outside target, just a garden hose, it's fine. Does something to put water on your target. Okay, now with the target, you want something to put on initially, to put on the ground. I mean, these are just soft drink bottle caps, or something, small pieces of shiny something like these metal blocks, or it can be spare implements or tools, whatever, pieces of washers, whatever, something to mark distance so you can return to it. It will be important at the beginning. Now also, a tape measure could be handy. Okay, this is a metric tape measure showing meterage. If you want to get into competition, you will need a metric one. or a universal one with metric and imperial. They are a handy thing if you buy the cheapest one you can get, right? Now, or at the beginning you can just do a step out heel to toe. That will give you an approximate distance, and because we're learning no spin knife throwing here, you only need that at the beginning anyway. So not the most important item, just handy. Okay, let's target. Now you need something to throw at the target. Okay. Oh, such a big topic. Now you do not need professional or custom made throwing knife, and custom made meaning made by throwing knife maker. Okay, so it doesn't mean just one set made especially for you. They're making all these knives, but they are usually a one-man company, and the quality is always, or most of the time, is higher than the mass-produced Chinese throwers. Okay, and nobody in the knife throwing circles ever regretted buying quality. That's just not happening. Okay, but as I said, you can start with mass-produced Chinese throwing knives as long as they are within the specifications of an all-spin knife, between 2 to 300 grams weight and between 2 to 300 millimeter length. And for ease of learning, in my opinion, you want to go somewhere in the middle, between 230 to 260 millimeter, about the same weight. Okay, 230, 250 gram weight. But this is just my opinion. Some people will go shorter, some say longer. Okay. Now, with mass-produced Chinese knives, you also have to accept that you get what you pay for. Some of the sets will last you a lifetime, and some will break much sooner than you expected. Okay, it is just the fact of quality control and material and raw material, heat treatment, and all the rest of it that is associated with mass production. Okay, now with throwing knives, you also have to get a file. Okay, now you don't have to get the best engineer's file that you can find, which is this is a 10-inch smooth, but yes, you should get a smooth file. These little warding files, they're just as good, but in my recommendation, get smooth file. Okay, not the cheapest Chinese, good medium range, and in addition 120 grit sandpaper. Again, some people go smoother, some go coarser. This is my personal preference. Okay, now, and then we're going to have to shift slightly, because no, you do not need even Chinese throwing knives to start. You can start with butter knives, you can start with screwdrivers, you can even start with spikes, throwing spikes. There's plenty of the pros and cons of these implements on my channel. Other than throwing spikes, I'll have to make some more throwing spikes videos. Okay, but if you think I want to start with screwdrivers or butter knives, I highly recommend to look at my contents, because some people like to exaggerate, and I will tell you what it is exactly, or I will tell you a personal experience from somebody who's not a naturally talented and not an awesome person. Okay, I am good at knife throwing, or reasonably okay, because I have perseverance. Okay, so that's the implement. Now we move into PPE, personal protective equipment, which is not that much. Okay, I highly recommend to get or wear an enclosed footwear like a running shoes type of thing. Okay, something that makes the movement easy or makes moving easy, and something that where you can move really fast. And the fast meaning is lifting your leg and getting out of the way of the bounce back or the throwing knife that's coming back at you. Okay, you need to be able to move fast. No, you do not need to wear work boots. Sometimes I do because that's what's on my feet at that time. But throwing barefoot, I highly recommend against. Okay, pants. I always wear like loose fitting or good fitting heavy duty like work pants or denims, but that's me. Okay, and I also recognize that some places is really hot, so wearing a short is okay. Again, comfortable to throw and able to move fast to get out of the way of the bounce back. Here, I probably should have mentioned it earlier, do not ever attempt to catch a bounce back. Don't attempt to play soccer with it. Get out of the way, okay, and let it land somewhere. Okay. Maybe I should have said it earlier, but now it's good. While knife throwing is not a particularly dangerous sport or activity, I strongly believe that minors should have active parental or adult supervision. Okay, that means active meaning you can get in and grab them straight away. Okay, or push them out of the way if you see a really bad bounce coming their way. Kids not always as reactive as adults. Okay, so that's my personal opinion, and I'll stand by that. Now, if you're throwing outside, follow your country's sun protection recommendations. Okay, some countries need to make sure that you're protected from the UV rays. Some don't. Everybody lives in different places. This is an international channel. Now, we're coming to eye protection. Should you wear industrial quality safety glasses? Yes, some people will tell you that yes, you should, especially at the learning phase. Some would say, why would you? Now, the reason why would you is there's a really bad. Well, it's a good example of how bad things can get real fast. An experienced knife thrower, and he's not a beginner, he's not an intermediate, he is an experienced knife thrower. He thrown a knife and he hit the target on the edge, and the knife was coming back at him, and it wasn't, I think it was about 5 meters. The knife was coming back butt first, and he dodged the wrong way, or I don't know, whatever happened. The knife hit him just on the cheekbone here. Okay, remind you, it was butt first or handle first. It was a nose pin throwing knife, and it left a nasty bruise, but it could have been much worse. Okay, so safety glasses, while I never wore them, not always sound a silly thing. And every time I teach minors, I insist that they do wear it. It is for my air and their benefit. Okay, do with this information as you wish. Now, last, gloves. Should you wear them? I'm talking about the workman type of leather gloves, not the rubberized ones. I never wore them. I don't like them, but there are people who live in a hot, humid environment. They swear by it. They would say that it is the gloves making the release uniform. Maybe it is. I don't know. I don't have the feel in the glove. I don't like it. Okay, so again, horses for courses. Experiment or be like me and nah, you don't need it. Okay. So yeah, this is everything. This is everything you need. So knife throwing is not an expensive or not necessarily an expensive hobby to get into until it becomes your obsession and you start buying custom throwing knives set after set, because one knife is not enough. You need a set of 3, especially once you get your brain going, and then you're actually not telling your spouse or significant other that what are you spending your hard-earned pocket money on. But yeah, I'm not saying you should take out a second credit card, but some people get very creative. Now, so last week I made a video on body mechanics. That we can look at that as a software. Today we looked at what do you need. We could look at this as a hardware video. And next week we're going to put the two together with a kind of training program, how to get into, how to start no spin knife throwing, and stepping up from that, becoming an instinctive no spin knife thrower. But for today, that's everything I wanted to say. Thank you very much for listening, and I shall see you in the next video. Thank you very much. Bye.